a lot of responsibility to do what really matters to people. Is that there are a lot of potential to waste a lot of money, a lot of potential to do it wrong. So, we move slowly and thoughtfully.
Well, in 2001, there was the Community Development Plan, and now a decade later, you're just putting the finishing touches on the 2010 Economic Development Plan. So, as you've been developing and listening and drafting vision statements and working on the waterfront, the harbor plan came out in the middle. What other sorts of progress have you seen? What's going on?
What's changed, like since the 2001 plan?
Right. Can you tell a difference between the plans even and how the city has progressed?
Well, they are very different plans, actually. See, the 2001 plan is a comprehensive plan, so it has 9 sections by state law. It's mandated by state law, 9 sections in a comprehensive plan. Only one of them is economic development. The kinds of changes I've seen over the years, the downtown has become, I think, very vibrant. There's been a facade improvement program. The businesses look very attractive and ready for business. There are block parties happening on Main Street. They passed zoning reform that allows apartments upstairs from businesses. That used to be prohibited. That was directly out of the community development plan. And that's led to more activity downtown. We also invested on the whole east end of Main Street downtown, $1.6 million in 2003, 2004. Trying to think specific recommendations. It's funny, the 2001 Community Development Plan actually has a group tracking it. They're called the Implementation Review Committee. They call themselves the PERC, Plan Implementation Review Committee. And they look through the development plan every single year and they talk about what's been done and what hasn't been done. So a lot has been done, but I would have to go back, I admit, and go look and see what's been done, because it's so hard to remember. There's a million things that we've done, and what were they? And,
now, how does your office stay in touch with either the state or other local cities, or even federal either funding or regulations, or how does just the city and your office interact with the greater Massachusetts and world community?
Well, you're talking about means of communication, and a ton of it is through email. There are mailing lists and organizations that email us. There are also meetings the American Planning Association has. We have our regional meeting, so you tend to see the other communities at those from the New England states, and there's also the national meeting that was in New Orleans last year that I went to. That was very interesting to see how other communities were tackling problems. A lot of those conferences are one course after another all day long. You go 12 hours a day connecting. I don't have too many, like there's a Mass Association of Planning Directors, and I always want to get to their luncheons, because every now and then when I really appreciate that kind of bonding. But the state identifies now, Worcester has become it's one of the gateway cities, and it's promoted a lot, but often the meetings are in the middle of the state geographically. Well, we're a big, wide state, east to west, and it takes me 2 hours to get to a luncheon meeting in the middle of the state, and I just can't do that. And I see where they're coming from, because they want to include the western cities, and yet 80% of the population lives in the eastern side, so there would be different ways of divvying that up. But nonetheless, it does prevent me from doing that. There's trainings back when I was grants administrator here. There are more trainings on the CDBG programs, the HUD-funded Housing and Urban Development funded grant programs. There's also trainings down at the state. The state Department of Housing and Community Development has some good ones. I haven't been to any recently, but I often do pick one up here or there. There's smart growth meetings, regional meetings. There's Mass Bike has an annual meeting where if you're interested in bike trails. What I find is now that I'm running a department of 10 people, my Mass in Motion, my Get Fit Gloucester project manager who does all the bike trails hands-on, he'll go to the bike meeting. Or the grants administrator who does all the HUD program, she goes to the CDBG training. So mine, I bond with port professionals. I'm the port professional for the city of Gloucester, so I go to the biannual Seaport Advisory Council port professional meetings, and we share waterfront projects there.
And have advances in technology, advances in communication, have they changed the way your office operates? Is it easier to stay in touch, and can it also be a drawback?
I'll tell you, when I started with the city in 1999, everyone was getting used to this new thing. Matter of fact, it wasn't working the first couple of weeks. And that was email. So everyone had to have a computer that could do email. This was a big deal. Okay, that's 1999. This is 2010. I think I have 300 emails in my box right now, and that's because I assiduously answer them and delete them. So I stay right on top of it. And the productivity is extraordinary in terms of how you're connected to people and groups, and when you're setting up meetings and you keeping people in the loop all the time. So your awareness of what's going on is vastly different. The Clean Energy Commission, I rarely have to email them, and yet because I get the notices of where they are with a stretch code or whatever, when they are going to city council to get the zoning passed, I'm there advocating for it. When the Community Preservation Committee is meeting, usually Matt Lustig, our project manager, handles that. But when they are getting all the grants in and they're trying to figure out how they sort out priorities, or they need bonding information from our chief financial officer, I'm there. I go to the meeting. I've already been in the loop of hearing their questions. I already know what their concerns are in the broad view, not detailed. But so it's a huge link. And also when the groups, the Get Fit Gloucester group, there's 20 partners, and they get together regularly, and they have an action plan and all that. And when they did a new resource guide for kids' activities and then adult activities, nutrition and health activities that are available in the city and who you contact, when I saw it and I really loved it, I could say, hey, great work, to 20 people all at once. That's huge. How could I have done that before?
Much easier for outreach, I can imagine. Just staying in touch with a large group.
The city council agendas are always posted, so when our manager's meeting before the city council meeting that night, we all have the agenda already. And all the backup to it, the mayor's report that submits about 100 pages of documentation up to the city council every time. If you have a question about anything, you just go on the PDF file, fly through, find what's happening, and they're like, oh, really? Good to know.
Glad we're all connected.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I think that's about it for me. Is there something I haven't touched on that you'd like to add? Anything about staying in touch or developing or anything?
Well, what's interesting to me is as I've heard about the new forms of communication, the Twitter and Facebook, a woman just told me I have an idea about we should have sidewalk plows, sidewalk snow plows. I think that'd be very useful to have in the neighborhoods if we could get different neighborhood organizations to take it on, so we could have sidewalks clear in the winter. She said, well, maybe you should doesn't the city have a Facebook page off your new website? And I thought, I think it does, actually. So it's a little tricky when you're doing a lot at once to figure out how to stay tapped in. So I guess that's the only part I'd add is that there's probably more to come. We have email. And we have a website.
Well, if 10 years ago you had email, and as of last week you have a new and improved website.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Who knows where it'll be even next year.
Yeah, we love keeping documents up there. I love having people have the information, and we can give them the history of a project with, into this, that, and the other. So no, I guess I don't have any grand words of conclusion. Every time you accomplish something, though, I will add, it just sets the stage for what you do next. So there is no, quote, getting there. It's like if you're doing good things, there's always good things to be doing. They just get better and better. Knock on wood.
Okay, well, great. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to talk to you.